Okay, we should be live now. I am just a man in recovery doing my very best to share a positive message of love and hope to anyone out there struggling. My name's Danny Shannon. I spent 17 years in the pain, hurt and misery of active addiction, heroin, meth, crack, anything you could get your hands on. I am absolutely blessed to have found recovery on the 15th of September 2009. This is the Kick the Shit podcast. Each week, my guests and I will share our stories around the social and emotional impacts that addiction can have on both ourselves and our loved ones. Let's go! Hunter Michael Shepard, welcome to the Kick the Shit podcast, brother. How you doing?
Yeah, doing good, man. Doing good.
Where are
Thanks.
you? You're looking all rugged up there, mate. It's nice and hot here in Sydney. It's cracking outside. Where are you?
I'm in Loughton, Essex, England right now. So
Oh,
it is
wow.
absolutely freezing. It's actually so I've spent a lot of time in England, and the last few days is the first time I've seen like snow over here. So it's been cold enough to snow.
Yeah, sure, mate. So you're in, is that like London, is it? UK.
Yeah, it's
Some,
e- it's e- it's East London.
mate, you have got the most incredible life, Hunter. Guys, yeah, Hunter and I connected around about 7 or 8 months ago, after some of the social media stuff that I've been doing, and it's been an absolutely incredible journey to learn so much more about your story, Hunter. I know that there's
Thank you.
quite a few in those images that I just posted there. There's a couple of images and a couple of TikToks that really blew up and have gone viral across the world. You have been a big mentor to me along these last, 10 months as well. So I'm really looking forward to talking about a little more about how you got where you are right now, bro.
Yeah, I think one of the videos that you played on there, it was like one of my most viral videos on TikTok. I think it got a million likes just on that one video.
Holy shit. Yeah,
Crazy.
and on that note too, I know on TikTok you've got over 500,000 followers, and then on Facebook you must have nearly 500,000, and then you got YouTube going crazy as well. Instagram with
Yeah,
100,000. Mate, you're unstoppable, bro. It's all right, Hunter.
it just
Let's we've
happens.
got a few. Yeah, cool. We've got quite a few people in the live. Welcome everyone. So guys, I will just mention we'll take questions at the end of the show. And Hunter, if you've got some time to stick around at the end, we will take some questions. So, Hunter, would you mind going back? Where did you grow up, mate? Tell me a little bit about family. Yeah, what was your childhood like?
Yeah, so I grew up in a place called the Mid Ohio Valley, which is right along the Ohio River that separates Ohio and West Virginia. So
Yeah,
essentially, growing up, life was amazing. I mean, I have two parents that love me very much. I grew up with two half sisters that I spent a lot of time with. Was very close with my grandparents growing up. Like everything was like completely normal until I turned about 12 years old, and I got diagnosed with ADHD and depression and anxiety, and they started to medicate me at 12 years old
wow.
and give me like Adderall and stuff like that.
Man.
So essentially, I'm suffering from mental health, and then they medicate me on drugs that are very serious to put a 12-year-old on, right? And then at the same time, I start to really truly experience. Oh no, where'd you go?
Don't worry, that's okay. Sorry, Hunter. That was completely my fault. So yeah, they put you on the Adderall, and then at the start you started to, and that's when I lost you. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's all good. So, I start to experience, mental health issues, and they prescribe me to these really strong medications at an early age. And all while this is happening, I really dislike who I am as a person. I was overweight. I had this like goofy hair, and I dressed different. And I grew up in the specific town I grew up in. There was only like maybe 2,000 people in this town. So everybody knows everybody, right? And I'm going through all of these things at once. I felt very secluded from the other kids that were my age. And I kind of, I grew up with this guy, and essentially his older brother and his older brother's friends smoked weed and drank. So at 12 years old, I kind of started to drink and smoke weed to
Wow.
fit
Yeah.
in with these people. So that I felt like I had a connection with somebody other than the group of people that I grew up with because I felt very secluded from them. So all of these things are happening at 12 years old, and essentially, I got arrested for the first time at 12 years old as well. So all of this like craziness is happening. It's like a perfect storm to set me up to go down a bad path, right? So at 14 years old, the same friend that introduced me to his older brother and his friends passed away in a car accident. And it was very, very traumatic. So essentially, my childhood best friend, I go to the hospital and I had to see him like dying. And for a 14-year-old, that was very, very traumatic, right? So that pushed me even further into like a dark hole essentially. Um, so all within this period of time, like I said, I got arrested for the first time at 12 years old, and they put me on probation, which then kept me in the system, and I would continuously fail drug tests over and over and over again, and I would get expelled from school and all of these things, right? So at 16 years old, because I've been on probation 3 times by the time I turned 16, they give me a felony as a juvenile.
Wow.
And so what this does is it puts me on felony juvenile probation. So essentially things get a lot more serious. And I decide that the first week of felony juvenile probation that I'm going to run away. So I steal a bunch of electronics from my family, and I run away and I go on the run and I hide with this group of people that were like way older than me. And so they introduced me to heroin for the first time at 16 years old. Luckily, the next day they raid the house that I'm at looking for me, and I end up going to a felony juvenile correctional facility where essentially for the next on and off for the next 3 years I'm in and out of this. Actually, 4 years I'm in and out of a juvenile correctional system where it's like a juvenile prison system in the state of Ohio. All while all of this is going on, my daughter was born when I was 19 years old,
Yeah.
and right around the same time, I was still on juvenile felony parole. And I start to smoke something called
Jesus.
spice, which if you know what spice is, it's like this like synthetic drug that essentially is supposed to be like a synthetic marijuana, but it doesn't show
Yeah.
up in a drug test.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's why I start to do it. And long story short, it was the most addictive substance that I've ever been on. I mean, it was brutal, way worse than heroin.
And I heard
So,
the side effects, like the hallucinations. I heard it's putrid too. You know,
oh,
is that right?
it brutal.
Spite. Oh,
Yeah,
oh, thank
it's
God,
brutal.
I never. None of that was around when I was using. I don't believe it was anyway. Thank goodness. Sure. All right.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So I get addicted to this, and like I'm like so strung out, like all like it was just absolute chaos because like this drug was truly the most addictive drug I've ever done. So like came first before everything else. So my daughter is born throughout like in the middle of this like absolute chaos, right? And I remember her being born and looking at me, and I say to her, I'm like, "There's my baby" or something like that, and like she looks at me and smiles, and it was like one of the most amazing moments of my life. Like she came out not even crying; she's like smiling at me, you know. But like
Cool.
the drugs had such a hold on me that I was using in the parking lot. You know what I mean? I
Mm,
was using the parking lot before we even left the hospital.
yeah.
Absolute, chaos.
Yeah. Yeah. That Hunter, actually, just on that. That's like I picked up heroin at 16 too, by the way. But I remember when my son was born, bro, in the hospital. This is disgusting. Me taking in, well, just after she's given birth, I've taken in ice to give to my partner,
Yep.
and she's gone and used in the toilets. Like she was dirty that I was already on it, so she wanted it. So of course I'm going to give it to her. But isn't that just disgusting, man? Like this is what we're doing. Well, anyway, sure.
It's crazy.
But you just reminded me of that, mate.
The
So
things we do, man. The things we do. Um, yeah. So then, all at the same time that this is happening, the United States bans the production and sale of spice because at the time it was legal. You could
thank
go into
God.
like a store. Yeah, yeah,
It's
serious.
legal.
You could,
It's well
yeah,
on
it,
from tobacconists or something, is it?
yeah.
Where
You
was
could buy it at like a corner shop. It was crazy, man.
I don't
Um,
know if that's what it was called here. I'm pretty sure we had that stuff here. Someone in the comments could let us know. But yeah, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, it was called K2 is what we called it,
Yeah.
but a lot of other places call it Spice. But
Yeah.
K2 was
Okay.
like the main brand
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
could
Sure.
buy.
Sure.
Yeah. So essentially, they ban it and they make it illegal. So now it's significantly harder to get. And I was getting it from like the manufacturer, so I was getting it like cheap.
Sure.
But they,
Bulk.
yeah, bulk. And essentially, they banned it, so it became impossible to get. So now I'm on juvenile parole at 90 in Ohio. You can be on it until you're 21. So I was like 19, 20 years old, and at this point, I can't access what I've been super addicted to. And even though I'm on parole and I've been getting by with it, like I've been passing drug tests the whole time. Um, I was like, okay, now I'm withdrawing. Now I'm gonna go straight back to heroin and you know, Percocet and pain pills and all of that. And so that's what I do. I pick up heroin and I pick up these pain pills and I start using them. And now I'm super hooked on those, and I know I'm gonna fail drug tests, so I go on the run. So eventually that catches up to me like very quickly, like within like 2 months. And my parole officer arrests me and puts me back in. And at this point, they're done dealing with me. They're over it. They're sick of it because I've been getting by with it for so long and they knew that I was. So they put me back in juvenile parole at like 19,
Yeah.
19 or
Right.
20 years
Yeah.
old,
Yeah.
roughly. And um, yeah, so now my daughter is visiting me in like a juvenile prison
Place. Yeah.
facility. Um, and they I get out and they release me from parole. So now for the first time since I was 12 years old, I'm completely free from any type of like justice system or anything like that. And so I go right back to it. Obviously, like literally as I'm discharging from the juvenile prison system, I'm like literally in the car driving home getting high. Like as soon as I step out of the doors, right?
Sure, Hunter. Can I ask you a couple of questions before we go further? There's
Yep.
a couple of things that present. Last one I want to ask you, and we'll touch on this, was were you in the mindset that you were going to get on anyway? But before we jump to that, what I want to ask you is two things you mentioned. First of all, you talked about a felony, and in Australia, we don't have that three strikes rule like you guys. Can you talk to me? I'm sure some other Aussies would really be interested. What is? I think we got felony. Yeah, I used to just get locked up, but how do you get locked up forever under that three strikes thing? Is
Well,
that
it depends on what state you're in. So
okay?
Ohio doesn't have that rule.
Oh,
And the
thank
thing
God.
is, I
Thank
I
fuck
was
for
a
that.
juvenile.
Yeah.
I was a
Okay.
juvenile, so I was never convicted of anything. I was what they call adjudicated. So,
Ah. Okay.
like it's not on my record now at all.
Oh
You
wow.
know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
So if you're in West Virginia, though, like
yeah.
literally 10 minutes away from Ohio,
Yeah.
where I grew
Yeah.
up, and you get three felonies convicted of three on three separate occasions,
Yeah.
you get life. Yeah, you
What
get
could
life.
be a felony? What is stealing a car a felony? It would be,
Yeah,
I
oh
guess.
yeah.
So if I get
Yep.
caught, I got caught stealing more than three cars on many occasions. I'd be locked up for life if I was lived
Yeah.
in West Virginia.
Yeah.
Far out. That's
It's brutal,
scary.
man.
That's brutal. That's so
Yeah.
wrong. And I want like I
Yeah.
just like I was a good look at me now. Like I was just a messed up kid. Like that's just wrong. Oh, and you also mentioned Percocets. When you said that, right? We don't. I don't believe we have them here. They weren't around when I was. And
You
there's a
guys just
bulb.
call them something different. You guys just
Nah,
call
it's
them
a
something
different
different.
drug, man. You just got more heavy shit over there. Like that Dilaudid. I remember watching Drugstore Cowboy with Matt Dillon, I think it is. Some of the drugs in there, we don't have that shit in Australia, bro. But
Well, do you
Percocet.
know what? You guys have like OxyContin and
Sorry.
stuff though.
Yeah, we got Oxys, yeah.
So it's the
Oxycontin,
same. It's the same
Endone.
thing. It's the
Oh,
same thing.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's just so Percocet is just like like there's two different kinds. There's one that has a lot of paracetamol or Tylenol in it,
Oh, yeah. That's like, yeah.
and there's
Par-
one that doesn't have it in it.
Yeah,
So
right.
it's yeah, yeah,
Ah.
yeah.
I
So
mean,
you guys do have it. It's made by the same people essentially.
there's a lot of music, a lot of rap with they talk about Percocets and Molly and always. Look, by the way, Hunter, I am absolutely obsessed with America, mate. I just love that I'm chatting to you, coming from London, from America. Like it just sparks me up, bro. So
See, the
I'll
thing is,
can't help asking.
I prefer Australia, man.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, yeah. Nah. Well, so would I, to be honest, bro. Like America is freaking crazy, and
Yeah,
like if I was hanging with you, it'd be one thing. But if I'm out there, because the two times I've visited, I've been on my own. Oh, actually, no. The first time I wasn't, but on my own, I was scared, mate. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know if I was going down the wrong alley, and like that's yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, I love
It's a
America.
much different situation for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, sure.
Uh,
All right. So you got out of juvie. Back to my last question. Did you ever, while you were in juvie, have the intentions of getting out and turning your life around, or was it always I'm going to get on?
yeah, the first time that I went in, I was actually super motivated, and I was healthy, and I felt great. And I actually was like doing really well in school while I was in there. Um, but as soon as it's just one of those things, it's like a pipe dream. Like you like think that it's gonna, you talk about it, you think it's gonna happen, then you get out, and it's a whole different story. You
Mm,
know, it's easy to feel like that under a structured, accountable environment where you're not really learning to live in the outside world. Um, so yeah, yeah. I had dreams of doing something good, but it was gone as soon as I got out.
yeah, like
Yeah.
literally directly from custody to get on, was it? Because that's where. Sorry, that's where I interrupted you. You got out and you were straight on it again. That's where you were. You were on your way to get on
Yep.
it.
Yep. And essentially, within this time period, now I'm completely free from parole, so I'm not scared to do anything. So I go down this like dark path of like, all different kinds of like substances, like LSD and ecstasy and all like everything that you can imagine. Except I really wasn't using um, like opiates at that time, like heroin and stuff.
Mm,
But then it turned to that very quickly, and all the other people that did all the happy party drugs like cut me off. And essentially,
sure.
at 21 years old, I actually on my 21st birthday, I picked up meth for the first time. So,
Wow. Okay.
which
Yeah.
brought me to my knees very, very
Quick.
quickly. I mean,
How old are you
yeah,
now, Hunter?
I'm 28.
Oh yeah, wow. You're just a
I'm
young
28.
fella, man. Spring
So
chicken.
I got yeah, I got sober at 23.
Yeah,
So
wow.
essentially, from
Fuck, you're lucky.
21 to 23,
Yeah.
absolute chaos because of the
Yeah.
meth, man.
Oh, it's
Absolute chaos.
putrid stuff, mate. Like the
Yeah,
stuff and the aftermath as well. It's the most putrid one. Like I know alcohol, heroin will kill you quicker, but the long term effects of ice, crack, whatever you, it's just horrible meth. Yes,
brutal.
I can imagine. Yeah. Sorry, go. Yes, okay.
Yeah, yeah, no, no,
Talk to us
no,
about
no,
that.
it's
Yeah.
all good. So essentially, yeah, I mean, I just like put myself in these like really bad situations around like dangerous people that were doing things that, you know, and I, what happened was I went to rehab 6 times in like 2 years. So I
Mm-hmm.
was really trying to get sober and figure it out and not go down that path. So essentially, what I would do is um, the meth would be it would burn me out so quick that I would use, and I would get into these situations where like it was just so scary and so bad, and I was so addicted, and I was like beaten and broken that I became willing to get sober and willing to go to treatment. So I would tell my parents, "Hey, listen, I want to go to rehab. I want to go to treatment," and they would
Yeah.
facilitate me going to treatment. But then once I would get there, I would get sober and I would start to feel good and I would get cocky and confident. And then I would start to like justify using like marijuana and alcohol and stuff like that. And I would never even really drink alcohol. I didn't even like it. But I would justify it because I started to feel confident with myself. So then I would smoke weed or I would drink, and then boom, literally 24 hours later, I'm like, you know, getting high on all these other substances that I swore I never would. Um, and this happened over and over and over again. Like literally, I went to treatment like 5 or 6 times, and then also got sober and went through the process to then in turn relapse. Um, so the last time that that happened, I acquired five. I was in a treatment facility in California. I acquired 5 months of sobriety. I was doing like super well. Like life was, you know, great. And I moved back to West Virginia from California, which I should have never done. And yeah, my girlfriend broke up with me. I lost my job. I'm living at home with my parents and fighting with them because now I don't have any job. They have custody of my daughter. Like, just absolute chaos. I should have never left. Should have never left California. And yeah, somebody shows up and they're like, "Hey, listen, I've got heroin. Do you want to get high with me?" And I'm like, at this point where like my life is in shambles once again, and I'm not even using drugs. So of course I did it. And 3 weeks later, I had lost 45 pounds. Do you guys go by pounds?
Kilos. I mean, we know we if
Kilos.
we're buying drugs, we go by pounds. But if we're if we're talking drugs, it's pounds. But if normally it's kilos, if we're talking
Well,
weight, you know.
so I lose like 20 some
Oh,
kilo
oh,
in
you
three
like yeah,
weeks.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I had
From meth.
picked my whole body. Yeah, from meth. I had scabs all over me.
Yes.
I slept maybe like 3 days in 3 weeks. So I'm in psychosis. Like I got all this like stuff going on. I'm like absolutely out of my mind within a matter of 3 weeks. And a girl that I had ripped off for like $300, like 4 or 5 years before, decides that she's gonna poison the drugs that I'm using. And yeah, so she did, and I did it, and it almost took me out. And essentially, my parents came and picked me up from the hotel that I was in, and they took me to the hospital. They sedated me at the hospital. I come out of it, and for the next 3 days, while I'm in psychosis, my parents take care of me. My dad literally would help me shower and change my clothes. I couldn't even eat on my own. I didn't know my own name, didn't know who I was. Um, yeah, and essentially, at the end of the 3 days, my parents had planned for me to go to rehab. And yeah, so I got high in their back seat on the way to the airport, and they dropped me off to go to rehab for the very last time. And I remember my dad like looking at me and saying like, "Do you want to be buried or do you want to be cremated? Because if you don't stop, then that's the only choices you have left." And it really hit me hard. I realized I didn't want to die from this.
Hunter, like, and anyone listening, and if you've seen some of Hunter's story, the moment, like those hectic images of his before and after transformation, is a result of him being poisoned. Hunter, can we? So, just in saying that, I'd just like to go back there and talk me through that again. What do you mean she tried to poison? What did she poison you with? Do you know? And what happened there, man? Because like some of those images, are just the most incredible images of someone in addiction I've ever seen, mate. I think the whole
Yeah,
world knows that. So can you take us back through that, please? Talk to me. What did talk us through that. Just after everyone understands what I'm talking about now, hit us with that
yeah.
again, mate.
So essentially, um, okay. So have you heard of Flocka?
No, I haven't.
So it's like the zombie drug that like essentially people like
Ah.
some guy like attacked some guy in Miami and like bit his face off or something like that. Have you heard of that?
Oh, yeah, is that the one that the flesh eating one? No, different another
No,
one.
no,
Another one.
that's something else. Yeah. So essentially, it's like what we call bath salts. So there's a drug that we call
Okay,
bath
yeah,
salts.
we know that stuff. That's like a synthetic drug again, isn't it?
Yep, but it's even
Yeah. Okay.
stronger
Yeah.
than bath salts. So Flock is like bath salts on steroids, and essentially, it looks just like meth. So she put it into the meth that I was using, and yeah, so she put it into the method I was using, and I had no idea, and I injected it, and it like sent me into outer space, and I don't know what her intention was, whether it was to like kill me or hurt me, or I don't know what the intent. Well, whatever it was, she accomplished something. So, um, yeah, and really, those images and videos are really bad because I had been in psychosis for like 3 weeks and had picked my whole body, so I had scabs all over me. I had lost all that weight in that short period of time. Like I was on the verge of death already, and then she did that. So I feel like I looked
Oh,
so dark, because I was already sick anyway. My eyes were so dark, and my skin was like gray. I had scabs all over me. It was, bad.
wow. So those all those scars and pick marks weren't from the ice. They're not little sores from the dirty drugs. That's just the effects of the ice, the meth you were using.
Yeah,
Jesus.
yeah, that was for me like so what I would do is I would like compulsively pick at my skin while I was high. So I had no idea I was doing it. I would just be like picking at myself.
Yeah. Wow, that's hectic, man. I mean, anyone watching right now, I need to cut this out of the podcast, but let me just play that. Let me just play that video. Um, Hang on. Look at, have a go. So that's you in recovery, but um, yeah, these images right here. Wow, hectic, man. Hunter, there's
Yeah.
some putrid stuff over there, mate. 26.
Yeah, I was a sick one as well.
All right, so that was, and do you know what else is such a miracle about you? So your last that was your last attempt at rehab. So that really was your rock bottom, and you managed to turn things around from there, eh?
Yeah, you know what? I feel like I hit rock bottom like 6 times. Every time it was worse than the last one. I just kept digging a hole.
All right, mate. You'd mentioned treatment center in California. Can you talk? What's treatment like there? I'm sure. I wonder what that would be like compared to us. I've been to detox and rehabs about 50 times, brother. Like a ridiculous amount of times. Yeah. Talk to me about that. What kind of treatment center is and how does that look?
Well, so it's very divided. So essentially, in California, so treatment is different per state. If you're talking like free facilities, like low bottom, like free, like we call them indigent facilities. So like
Yeah.
if you're like homeless or you have nothing else, like the places in California are gnarly. I mean, it's like
Okay.
serious,
Good.
like,
Good to
dude,
hear.
the home,
Free
because like the
ones.
homeless.
Yeah.
They're bad. They're bad. They're not good at all.
Oh. Okay.
They're like, I can't even explain it. So essentially, it's a mix of the homeless people off Skid Row, people coming straight out of prison that have relapsed, and they just kind of put them in these facilities all together. So like, if you're somebody that just doesn't have like private health insurance or no funding, that's like your only choice to be in there with people that are like truly at rock bottom. So it's kind of like super underfunded, kind of like no
Yeah.
medication, nothing. Like you're just going there to detox, you know,
Yeah.
under supervision essentially. Um, but the other side of it is if you have funding or if you have private health insurance, right? Which I did because in America you can be on private health insurance under your parents until you're 26. And my mom's
Okay.
worked at my mom worked at the same hospital for like 30 some years. So
Yeah.
I was
Right.
covered
Wow.
under her insurance, and I had
Yeah.
the ability to go to a privately funded facility 6 different times to a bunch of different facilities until I found the one that actually worked for me. So our healthcare system is like significantly different in America than in Australia. And
Yeah, we're
yeah,
blessed.
so
Yeah, I think we're very lucky here for treatment. You know,
oh, you
I
guys are
was,
blessed.
I was very
You guys are
lucky. You know,
blessed.
yeah,
Yeah,
compared to,
it's
I could
amazing.
just imagine, like, because I've been down Venice Beach, and the amount of
Yeah,
homelessness and drug addiction along that beach there in California, like, I could just imagine, like, it's horrible, but what the detox and rehabs must be like,
yeah, yeah,
in there.
yeah. And the crazy thing is, so like I try to help everybody. I've put together resources for everybody in the United States. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter who you are. Like I'll try to like help you find somewhere that's actually going to help you.
Mm.
Because people deserve that. But long story short, our private our private facilities, the actual quality private facilities, are some of the best in the world. I mean, they're
Yeah.
truly amazing. So yeah, I was blessed to go somewhere that was at the time it was very, very good. And I got plugged into like a sober living and a community of people that like held me accountable and showed me how to live sober and made me work the 12 steps. You know, I was blessed to be in a place like that.
Yeah, well, all right, Hunter. So that's the carnage of your addiction. It finally led you to an amazing treatment center that set you up for to where you are today. How did it like? How did early days look like for you? For me, I got really involved in the fellowship at first, and then I started a little
Yeah.
bit of part time work, and I've been incredibly blessed to maintain that recovery. But how did your early? What did the first 12 months look like for you?
Yeah, so you know what was really amazing about this last treatment facility I went to was it was in a place. So I've always had issues in early recovery with relationships and women and stuff like that.
Oh
So
yeah.
I actually ended up in a facility in a place in California that's actually the highest gay population in the United States.
Okay.
So all of the meetings that I would go to, there were significantly less women in these meetings, so I wasn't as distracted. And I got a sponsor who was actually a gay man who knew that I had issues with women, and he kind of told me from a perspective that I so he was sharing from women's perspective as well. He would try to educate me and enlighten me on that. So he actually taught me how to look at relationships in like a healthy way, and how to that I needed to give myself some time, before I got into anything like that. So for the first 12 months, I got really, really involved in a community of people where I wasn't distracted and I could actually work the steps. And I went to like 3 meetings a day while I was in sober living for like the first 4 months of my recovery. It was amazing. Yeah, and I just stayed connected. And what happened also was I started to document my journey through recovery and my journey through addiction and all of that while I was in like my first 2 weeks of sober living. So
Yeah.
from the very, very beginning is when I started to document and build a following and create content and all of that.
Wow.
So
Cool, man.
uh,
Really?
for the
I
first
haven't
year,
seen that stuff.
yeah, I really doubled down on it and just kind of like shared where I was at life and was very honest. And the first year is not easy. The
No, it's
first two
difficult.
2 years really is not easy.
Mm.
And I would like really openly shared my struggles with that. And it helped me a lot.
Mate, I love that you just touched on for just you mentioned meetings. You were going to 3 meetings a day. Anyone didn't know what Hunter was talking about? He means like 12 step fellowship meetings on that regard. And I also love that you touched on that very dangerous time in early days of recovery and relationships, Hunter. It's such a good and thank goodness well, I've seen a lot of people come undone because of that. And for you, you had the right support, and that obviously played a big role in you surviving this.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
but no, it absolutely did.
Okay, so first 12 months you started document. So I guess so. Was there any work? Did you were you doing any work? Yeah.
I was trying, but like failing miserably at work. And
Like what? What
at
were you
the
doing?
time, like I just couldn't find anything. I literally just couldn't find anything, and really like uh thankfully, and my parents are not like wealthy or anything, but like they really, really helped me, um you know at the least survive. I had like, I moved back in with my parents. My parents and my daughter relocated to Arizona. They left West Virginia because it was just an unhealthy place, and I ended up meeting them in Arizona, and we all lived together. And they really just supported me through it. And they also saw my vision with social media, and they really believed in me and kind of invested
Really?
in my survival so that I could focus on, you know, being successful with
Well,
social media.
Well, Hunter, on that regard too, like I've thought about this, right? Like your dad was obviously thinking about it before it was even a thing because he was recording you in that hospital, and I
Yeah,
remember that footage with you and your mum, and maybe, well, surely you didn't ask him to do it, but isn't it incredible how he took that initiative to record? Because so what was those words you said earlier about on the way to detox about your dad asking about you being cremated? Or
yeah.
that tell
He
us that bit
he
again.
pretty much he said, "Do you want to be buried or do you want to be cremated? Because that's the only choices you have left if you don't stop."
And he's so right. You were so close to death, brother. Like you were
Oh, I was.
fucking dead. Like practically you were
Yeah,
dead walking, mate.
like a zombie.
Man,
Um,
and yeah, like he played such a huge part in your success, would you say? Because that footage is
yeah.
like, I know you're an incredible storyteller and you do, but that footage is just like spectacular, man.
You
That's
know
what
what
made
it was? You know why he actually did it? He did it. He was thinking of that. He was thinking
yeah.
like, hey, if he survives this, he can share this, right?
Oh,
But he
beautiful,
was
man.
also recording it because he knew that I was so high that there was no way in hell I was going to remember what I looked like or how I was acting. And he wanted to make sure that I
Show you.
knew.
Look at you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Look at you, you
And you know
mess.
what's crazy? I didn't even see those videos until I was like 6 or 7 months sober. My dad was like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I took these videos of you, and you should take a look at them." And
Bro,
I was like blown away. I didn't remember it at all.
this stuff really excites me because I know how precious that footage is when we're making content. Like I've
Yeah,
learned a lot of stuff around content creation with you. So in your early days of documenting your journey when you were in rehab, before you got those videos, what did your videos look like? What were you doing? Like you said, you were
it
just telling
wasn't.
people.
At the time, it wasn't videos. It was just you could write a post.
Ah,
So what
yeah,
actually?
right.
So what I did was okay. So I oh man, I was so bad. So essentially, I would create content making fun of like my before picture. So I would like
Yeah,
roast myself and my addiction, and
yeah.
and it blew up. It would go viral. Like
Really?
and
Everything you
yeah.
do goes viral, bro.
Well, at the time, it was so easy. You could just post. I could create posts. So I would make funny relationship memes as well, and I would post them, and they would get like 30, 40,000 shares, and people would just blow up following me. Um, so that's kind of how it started. Was like making fun of myself, making fun of my relationships, and stuff like that, and then also writing very serious stuff about my recovery. So
You're a good writer, bro. I'll give you that. Like,
thank you,
you actually, that's
thank you,
another thing you taught me. I need to take time, and I can write if I put a lot of effort into it. But yeah, you're a really good writer, and I think it's a beautiful
thank
thing
you.
because it's storytelling on paper, and some people like to read.
Well,
All right,
I've always been a salesman,
yeah,
one way or another, whether it was good things or bad things. And I feel like with that you have to be a good storyteller. So,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I've
Okay.
mastered the art of communicating in that way.
All right, cool, Hunter. Still got lots to cover. So, all right, a year out of recovery. You recently celebrated 5 years recovery.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Just shows what an incredible journey. So what happened? What else has happened? Like, we'll definitely get to what you're doing now. But what was next for you after that first year?
Oh man, just really, you know what it was is I just stayed consistent and just kept doing what I was doing, and but then I got noticed by different treatment facilities,
Yeah,
and by sharing my story, and they started to, and obviously being to treatment 6 times, I understand how treatment works. So I started to be given opportunities like in admissions and business development and marketing and outreach and all of that for treatment facilities. I probably shouldn't have been in the admissions part of it, to be honest with you. That part was really, really stressful for me.
Yeah.
I should have never been in that part of it at the time. At the time, now I have an active role within that part of different various treatment facilities, but I have a better understanding. But essentially, so the second and third year was really me learning and understanding how the business side of various treatment facilities work, while also continuing to grow my brand.
Yeah, that's what it is, eh? It's your brand, isn't it? Hunter Michael Shepard. It's got a good
Yeah.
ring to it too. Hunter, okay, so you started doing a little bit of work. So they approached you. Is this what led to you were already documenting? I guess you've had a quite a unique journey of recovery because you've been thrown from just this, guy on meth who just got poisoned after 6 attempts in rehab, but then you've started documenting your story. And let's face it, like if you're documenting a story, making fun of relationships or memes in the early days, and they're getting 40,000 shares. That actually is a really, really, really unique place to be because it attracts so much attention to you. I would suggest. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, it did. It did. Um, yeah, no doubt. Yeah, and also it gave me like a sense of like false confidence as well.
Yeah,
I
that's what I
actually
want. Yeah,
during that period of time I slightly drifted away
yeah.
from the program, and
Okay.
thank God I didn't go completely off the rails. But yeah, I stopped going to meetings and I just started to focus on social media and posting, and thought that it would help me. But really, it just created chaos within my life. And honestly, thank God that um, I reined it back in, and I'm reconnected and all of that, and have a sponsor and have reworked the steps and all of that. Um, so yeah, man.
So, Hunter, on that, you just reminded me of something. Like in the work I do, I get to meet so many people on this journey of recovery. Some people drink alcohol and put down their drug of choice and stuff. So, what about you? When you talk in recovery, what your 5 years is that 5 years abstinence from everything?
Yeah,
So you haven't had
yeah.
a drink or a drug for over 5 years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Not even interested. It's
Nah.
not even like a thought in my mind.
How long has it been like that? When did the obsession and compulsion get removed from you? I heard you just say you stopped getting
The
involved
very
in
beginning.
meetings. Yeah,
The
wow.
very beginning.
Incredible,
Now
bro.
now that's to say that, I haven't thought about it. I don't that's not my go-to in my mind anymore. But whenever I drifted from the program, my go-to was anger and frustration and aggressiveness. So, there was a few years there where I was just I was unhappy behind the scenes. I wasn't a very happy person. Even though I was sober and it looked like I was happy and all of that. But it actually made the emotions worse, you know, being sober.
Oh, because it's intense, isn't it? They call that a dry drunk, maybe. Yeah, it's that
Yeah, yeah,
it's not
that's what I was.
untreated, untreated
Yeah,
in recovery.
yeah.
What do you call it? Like doing it on willpower, but not looking
White
after
knuckling it.
white
White
knuckling it,
knuckling it.
mate. There's so many. What about your missus? Kyra, is that
Kira, yeah,
Kira?
Kira.
Excuse me, Kira. My God.
No, it's spelled Kyra, but it's
Yeah,
all good.
it's Kira.
Uh, so essentially, yeah, she's been sober for. She was really struggling at the very beginning of lockdown, which is when we met.
Yeah.
So she's been sober for almost 3 years. So
Congratulations to her too.
yeah, yeah,
Kira. I know we've had some chats with Kira and what about coming to Oz, Hunter? Talk us like actually let's talk about some of your travel. Like you're
yeah,
incredibly blessed, eh? I know and I think a lot of people out there who may be suffering from addiction or just in the early days of getting clean. One of the things I say all the time is to dream big and have some courage, be brave and follow your dreams, You've got the most
yeah.
incredible life, Hunter.
Thank
I
you.
think, like do you really feel like that? Do you feel blessed?
I do, but I'm so blessed. But I
Yeah, you
also,
are, bro.
uh, I'm super humble about it though, because I know that, I could lose it all or whatever, and
Sure.
you know, it's just the reality of it. So I'm super humble about it, and but I do know that I have a good life and that I get to experience things that a lot of people don't. You
Yeah.
know.
So yeah, talk about some of the travel. I know you. What was it like to come to Australia? For you,
Oh
mate.
man, one of the best experiences, man. I absolutely love Australia. So essentially, yeah, I get hired to do international sober companionship and sober transport and treatment and placement.
What a
So I have a network of facilities all over the world within the private addiction treatment industry, and I get to essentially connect with families that you know don't know who else to turn to and don't know what to do. And I come
yeah.
in to, moderate and mediate in really wild family dynamics and essentially find treatment for people that, you know, need it. So I get to place people within my network all over the world and companion them and transport them safely to treatment.
Look, yeah. My just by the way, like all my detoxes attempts, so many were all just in public, um, in the full public system. And even though we are very blessed, because there was many of those sessions for me, a lot of them are just were, like St. Vincent's Hospital, St. Leonard's Hospital, Cumberland Hospital. They were some horrible sort of, those chatty beds with the plastic mattresses and but whatever, like, and because you're hanging out, like mine was heroin, I'd be hanging out to kick. When I say hanging out in withdrawals, I'd be kicking. So I'd be laying on the dirty plastic in no time because you can't stand still. Um, yeah, so those treatment centers were kind of rough, but some of the treatment centers that you're talking about must be a little bit different to that, I'm guessing.
Yeah, yeah. Within the private industry, the facilities are very nice. But like I said earlier, like no matter what, I'll help anyone.
Yeah, yeah, I know you
Um,
do. Bro. Yep.
you know, at the end of the day, if I mean, some of the most solid people in recovery detox on their friend's bathroom floor, and then went to meetings, got a sponsor, and took it seriously. So it's kind of like you know anybody can do this if they truly want it. It's just the way the world works. So some people have the ability to have resources that other people don't. So, but I help anyone.
Yeah, I love that, mate, and thank you so much for all your sort of ongoing guidance with this stuff. Because of you, I had one of my first gigs traveling over to Thailand doing something very similar, and I look forward to learning a lot more about that space and like the whole social media. Like I got verified on Facebook. Like everyone, I just want people to know this. Like Hunter rings me up. He rings me up and says, Dan. He says, why aren't you verified on Facebook? I said, what do you mean? I said, how do I do that? He told me what to do. Next minute, I've dropped everything. I've done exactly that. I go to bed. I get a phone call from Hunter like at 6 a.m. in the morning because he's in LA, and it's saying you're verified. Like I remember you knew before I did, which is
Yeah,
and then my Facebook blew up from for something happened in the algorithm, and I started getting tens of thousand followers after that for a period of time there.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and then same thing that happened over on Instagram. So look, and again, I know I've said it a few times, but I really look forward to continue working with you in this
Of
space around
course.
social media. Um, the sober companionship stuff. I think it's amazing. And if anyone wants to, and Hunter, before, like, I'll just let you know, like, we'll take some questions at the end of
Yeah,
this. We'll go through some of the comments, but like it's the most silliest, ridiculous question in the world. If I said to you, where would people find you, Hunter? But that's just dumb because everyone just gotta
yeah.
look.
Everywhere.
Everyone knows where to find you, bro.
Listen, I'm on every single anywhere that I can put a piece of content and receive a message. Any social media platform, if you type in my name, you'll find me.
Yeah,
But yeah, 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 and I'm willing to talk to anyone. So
yeah. Um, is there before we take some questions? What I want to ask you is there. What would you leave us with? What's your words of wisdom around recovery, around where you're at today? Like, is there anything you'd like to share just finally before we take some questions, bro?
yeah, yeah, I think that the single most important thing that you can do if you're suffering from addiction, right? or even mental health is find a community of people who understand you, who will hold you accountable, who will support you, who will tell you the things that you need to hear to get better. And get in the middle of that community and don't leave it for anything and take their advice and listen to their wisdom. And one thing I can tell you for sure is there's AA, NA, Smart Recovery, Refuge Recovery, all of that in every single place in the world. And if you look, or virtually, really, you can connect to a virtual meeting if you don't feel comfortable going in person. But no matter what, get connected to a community of people who know you, know your struggles, and can hold you accountable and support you. And in my opinion, the community and the connection is the most important thing to this. Um, and I know for me, that's what it took, is getting into a community of people and staying in it. Um, and in regards to like the social media stuff, like anybody can do this. There's always somebody that's going to be interested in hearing your story, and
Yeah,
just go on there and share it, and be open about who you are, and just be consistent, and you would be amazed where it will take you, honestly.
some really good tips there. I love that you touched on that too, because yeah, you're right. Like anyone can do this. It just takes a bit of courage. But more importantly, Hunter, you just mentioned, and I see in the comments like so. What you're suggesting is, even if I've got no money and I don't know where there's help available. What you're saying is that there's help available. Would you say that, like, get
One hundred
involved?
percent.
Yeah, I reckon the same thing, Hunter. But I
One
get a
hundred
lot of
percent.
people saying there's not, but you're talking about that community online, or 12-step fellowship stuff, virtual meetings. What's a virtual
Yeah.
meeting, Hunter?
Well, hold on. So the people that say that there's not have not been beat to a point of willingness yet. And that's
Yeah,
the reality of it. You have to get to a point where you're willing to overcome your misconceptions of 12-step meetings or smart recovery or whatever it is, because there's so many misunderstandings when it comes to these types of meetings. And I would encourage everybody that if you don't believe that it works or you don't believe it's there, then at least try for a year and
yeah.
follow someone's direction, get a sponsor, work the 12 steps, and then tell me within a year that your life is not like radically changed and better. So
Or as they say,
get this there.
your misery can be refunded at the door if it doesn't work after a year. Hey, you know
Yeah.
that. Yeah. All right, Hunter. Thank you so much for your time, guys. We're gonna take some questions. If anyone does have any questions, we just want to thank everyone for joining us on the Kick the Shit podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure, Hunter. I love I can't wait for you to come back over to Oz again, bro, and we catch up, mate.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I'm so excited. We're going to do a lot together. There's not too many people that I would truly, truly partner with or work with, but man, I love you and I trust you and I believe in you. So, you're definitely
Yeah,
one of those
cool, bro.
people.
I know it. I know it. All right, guys. If anyone's got any questions, or if not, I'll just go through some of these comments. I don't know if you can see them on you're on your phone, Hunter. Sarah says she's been looking forward to this. Love and respect to you both. Thank you. Um,
Thank you, sir.
what's Jezza? Get Carl Heaton on the podcast. Sure, Jezza would love to get Carl on the podcast. Good work, good work, Hunter.
Thanks, Carl.
Tracy says hi. Um,
What's up, Tracy?
Good morning from Ireland. Anya Dean, thank you so much. Donna. Hi, Danny. Hi, Hunter. Um, Watching the podcast and those catching up on replay. Anya, Donna. Far what happened such a young. Yeah, at such a young age. That was really young, Hunter, when you picked up, mate. And to be locked up at that age, at a young age too, it's quite a young age too, isn't it, mate? Beautiful dog, which is. Beautiful drugs are the beast of things makes us. Oh, sorry, sir, I didn't read that. Drugs are a beast of a thing and make us do things we never thought of. Absolutely, Sarah. Yes, Sarah's come from Australia. I, okay. Mark says he done a lot of drugs, including Datura. Did you ever try Datura? That was in
I'm not sure what that
Fiji when
is.
I went. Yeah, it's like a plant. Oh, hang on, let me skip down here. Depression, desperation leads to willingness. Very true. Claire. Absolutely. Or a virtual meeting. Did we touch on that? And can you just touch on what's a virtual meeting, Hunter?
Yeah, so there's tons of different types of virtual meetings. There's AA, NA, CA, CMA, Smart Recovery. You could also do like a paid private virtual outpatient. There's tons of different meetings. So if Allison wants to connect with us, I'll find some list of meetings for her.
Yeah, good on you. Hey, Shah's saying that I just wish us parents trying to navigate this path with our addicted children, how to best manage the addict. Is there anything we can do to help support them? I love that question, Shah. Thank you. Hunter, do you want to try and answer that?
Yeah, let me reread it. Yeah, I think that every situation is different, but one thing that is necessary no matter what is that you learn how not to enable your child's addiction, but you learn to enable their recovery. So
Mm,
there's good and bad things that you can do with enabling, and if you're setting like firm boundaries and you're essentially guiding them into recovery, that's all you can really do. And at the end of the day, it's up to them. But you have to learn how to guide them into recovery. And there's also meetings for parents as well. There's Al-Anon meetings which are also virtual. You can connect with virtual Al-Anon meetings. There's Al-Anon in every single place that there's AA or NA in the world, so you can get connected to those. They also have their own group of steps that you work. You can have a sponsor through them. There's tons of stuff that you can do. Also, if you want to reach out to me or Danny, we'll help you navigate that too.
absolutely. I just want to put this comment up on the screen. This is my daughter's mum. How amazing. This is why you couldn't make it tonight. Now I understand you are both legends. I got invited to an outdoor movie, watching an outdoor movie with my daughter. Sorry, Amber. Thank you. See, I had a good excuse not to make it. Crystal, I see Crystal says, an amazing story, a true inspiration. Absolutely,
Thank you.
Crystal. You too, Crystal. All right. I know you probably Crystal. Another Crystal says, amazing 5 years, Hunter.
Thank you.
One more. Let me take one more question here. What about this one? Three strikes, oh my god, and having childhood woes, what for me is a complete fallacy, and I am ashamed found as an adult. Oh, sorry, Alison. Yes, I know that's such a scary thing. All right, Hunter, bro. I know I can see you're a little bit distracted over there too. Hey, really appreciate you giving us your time tonight, mate. I can't wait to catch you, mate. I'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely.
And before you go anywhere, I'm going to end the broadcast. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I'll just end this.